What's up guys, this is Wolves here, and today I'm gonna bring you the differences between a Challenger player and a Bronze. So basically difference between Challenger and Bronze. Hope you guys enjoyed my previous video that I did. It was about pro players, and if you haven't checked it out, it was about how to be a pro player and what it actually takes. So if you haven't seen it, please go check it out. It took quite a long time to do it, and yeah, it's like a different format in comparison to what I do normally, so it's a lot of presentations now. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it, and let's get straight to it. So the very first slide I have prepared for you guys is gameplay. Now I can tell you that Challenger players, they have faster gameplay, they have upbeat and high tempo games, they have higher priority on objectives, they're super decisive, they create plays and capitalize on mistakes. Now, a couple of examples of this is that, let's say they know that taking down turrets is the gateway to actually open up the map, so they will focus down a turret that's going to be fairly easy to fall, in this case bot lane, so they all sort of rotate down to bot lane and take that turret and then so on progress. Or if dragon is up, they're like, okay, let's get that dragon, so they're super decisive on this. Or if it's spawning in 30 seconds, they know, everyone on the team knows, hey, we need this dragon, so everyone's sort of jumping onto the hype train or like the bandwagon and like, okay, we need this, and then bam, everyone's already there. And then yeah, and they obviously look to create these plays. They're not waiting around, like sitting around waiting for people to sort of what do you call it, like make, I don't want to say make mistakes because that's the next part, but like they're not waiting around for the opportunities to come to them. They sort of make opportunities happen. So if someone's fairly low and they're sticking around top side, top laner is going to be asked by the jungler, hey, shove in, we can dive. That's creating an opportunity. Waiting for an opportunity is like, top lane is low, wave shoves in, and then he's sitting in the tower, you're like, oh, he's 10 health, let me just go kill him. So that's waiting for an opportunity, right? Sort of similar but different, really. Now, in comparison to a Bronze player, now also before I do go on any further, I want to say that when I say Challenger, I'm talking about top 50 Challenger, and when I say Bronze, I really mean everyone who's not really top 50 Challenger, right? Because top 50 Challenger is a lot different than top 100 Challenger to 200, right? So there is still disparity there, but top 50 is like the top-notch people, right? So yeah, so Bronze people, they tend to farm and extend the game. They tend to rely on others, so it's not what they individually can do, but what others can do to help them win the game. They don't prioritize anything. I've seen this a lot. Like the objective of the game is to get objectives that will eventually lead to the nexus, right? So generally structures is pretty big. Dragon, neutral objectives and buffs sort of help you obtain that a little bit easier. But yeah, they don't really prioritize any of these objectives, and they just wait for the games to play out and for the minions to actually sort of chunk away at turrets, and over time the towers just die because they're taking too many minion waves and they can't take it anymore, right? So that's what usually happens in a Bronze level game, right? And they tend to wait for these opportunities. Now I just talked about waiting for opportunities rather than create them. You can always create an opportunity for yourself only if you actually are willing to apply yourself in that situation. So yeah, there's that. So now next thing, which is ways to get better. Simply respond to the first ping of the objectives, because you want to be a lot quicker. Basically, difference between Bronze to Challenger, Bronze and Challenger is basically how fast they respond to things, right? They're not slack, they're not lazy, they tend to be like super focused, right? So simply respond to the very first ping on an objective. You see someone ping a turret, drop everything, go to that turret, right? It's not about I can get these 10 minions and then I will be there, you just wait, right? It's more about, hey, I need to get there, get that objective, right? It's all about the objective, right, rather than anything else. So make sure when someone pings an objective, you drop everything and go for it. Now that's not a very good analogy, because for one, it could be a very dire circumstance where you're defending an inhibitor and they're pinging bot turn for some reason, I don't know. But yeah, so things like that obviously you want to reconsider, because the inhibs are more valuable than their first tier bot turned. But in all honesty, like, this will probably be more impactful in the early game. So if they're picking an objective, drop everything and run towards that objective, right? So if you're faster in these movements, then you obviously will be accustomed to playing at a faster pace. So, and then you'll eventually outperform a lot more people. You, like, a good way to put it is be in a hyperactive state, right? So take glucose, take energy drinks, take coffee if you want to play before a game. So it'll put you in that, into that state where you're like, hey, what's happening, right? What's going on the map? So, and you're like totally aware of all these things, and you're like, I need to go here, I need to go here, right? So there's that. So don't be lax and lazy. Now, I've seen a lot of people play, like some of my mates play, they're in bronze, and when they play, they're like halfway slumped in their chair, and they're trying to sort of outperform someone who's probably sitting upright and like is on the ball and like really up and close to a screen. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. So you need to be in a state where you're in the best possible place where you cannot be a teensy bit lazy. And also try not to play when you're actually tired, because it does deteriorate your play. Right? Cool. So moving on to the next slide. So this one is called processes. Now, I talk about processes quite a lot because it's pretty much the number of thoughts that you have in a given minute, right? Challenger players tend to have a lot more processes. Now, people are making the comparison between IQ of a challenger player comparison to the IQ of a bronze player, but it turns out that people in like both the leagues or in between have pretty much roughly the same diversity of IQs. You can have a pretty low IQ to a pretty high IQ and still be in bronze, and vice versa on the other, because it does take into consideration your physical capabilities as well as your mental capabilities, right? And if they don't sort of mix and merge, you can't really deliver on it. But basically what a challenger player can do is he's constantly thinking of possibilities every 1 to 2 seconds. Now, I know the number is a lot lower than that, but just for the sake of this video, I'm going to put 1 to 2 because it's a whole number and I don't have to put in decimals, okay? In all honesty, it's less than 0, right? But for the sake of this video, it's 1 to 2. And they act on these processes actively, so they have to think, what do you call it? Clear this minion, go to raid, right? They go, okay, clear minion, go to raid. And then go to bot, gank bot, come back to lane, right? So that's simple, right? Process, and then they acted on it. Whereas, and then next up is they feel exhausted at 20 minutes because every 1 to 2 seconds they're thinking of possibilities and actually acting on it. But then once they act on it, something might have changed, so they have to reconsider this, and then they act on a different process, right? A thought process is what I mean. So by the end of 20 minutes, they're totally drained because they're thinking of so many different possibilities, and it becomes so mentally taxing on these players, right? And that's why they only play a couple of games from time to time, right? So like they would feel a lot more tired, more exhausted, and whatever. But when you compare this to a bronze level player, possibilities are considered every 5 to 10 seconds. Now that's like 5 to 10 times slower than the average challenger player, right? I know it's different from individual to individual, but really this is the case, or they act like this, really. Yeah, so they're not thinking about what you could be doing in this second. So in between 5 seconds, through a laning phase or farming phase, either be the jungle or the lane, they're not thinking, I can kill this person, I cannot kill this person can kill me. I need to stay on this side of the lane, I need to stay on this side of the lane. If he moves this side, I do this. If he uses this ability, I do this. So they're not thinking of all these possibilities, right? And so that's one of the reasons they find themselves in a very bad situation from time to time, and yeah, things go downhill from there. So another thing is, don't act on any process unless same thought recurs. So they're basically, they think, okay, I need to go and ward this lane, but unless their process comes back to them, or that thought process where it's like, oh, need to ward this bush, right? They won't act on it, and they hardly do. So you need to act on what you're actually thinking, or else that thought is pretty much null and void, right? Because you're actually thinking blank thoughts, right? Because you're not actually going to be doing anything with it. And exhaustion occurs at 40 to 50 minutes because the game stalls on for a bit, and because the point of exhaustion comes to 40 to 50 minutes, is that's when the players make the most mistakes. Or not most mistakes, is that's when they're feeling, hey, okay, I just want this to end. Let's just team fight and die, and like whoever wins the team fight will get to win the game. Right? In comparison to Challenger, where it's like, oh my god, 20 minutes. We really need to like sort of be doing a lot more now, and like it's totally different, right? And it's not mentally taxing to these people because they haven't been thinking of all these possibilities. Like they're not using their heads to that level. And now a lot of people are going to argue against it because obviously different people, different IQ. Remember, this is just my opinion on things. I should have said that at the start of the video, but yeah, anyway. So ways to improve. Now, actively make an effort to think of your strategies and game plan, right? So you need to be thinking, okay, I will shove my lane and I will gank, and then we'll take turn, and then we'll take dragon. If we can't take turn, then I'll come back to lane and gank top, and then we'll take herald. If we can't take herald, then I'll go back to my lane, shove my lane, we'll take turn there. If we can't take that, so you're actively always thinking of strategies, and if they don't work out, you have a backup plan ready to go. So try and think of these things as like plan 1, plan 2, plan 3, plan 4, and if you should have at least 2 of them outlined before you actually work on a plan, because now you know if there's a fail-safe to these things. So if that doesn't work, we just back out, right? And go and do this rather than this doesn't work, we're doing this, we have been doing this for the last 5 to 10 minutes, this hasn't been working, what's the next plan, right? So that's kind of being just lazy, really. So if something doesn't work, make sure to have a backup plan so you can work on it if it doesn't work. Usually if you're unable to do anything under 30 seconds, unless there's a massive wave build up on another lane, anything under 30 seconds, you tend to drop it, right? Because it's just a wasted effort, right? So remember that one bit. Moving on to the next slide that we have, it's called actual skill. So what do you call it? Challenger players, they have refined fundamentals, unless you're Faker, who's got insane dodging mechanics. But bear in mind that if you play on 8 ping every day for 4 years, you have pretty insane dodging mechanics, right? So good ping does affect your performance. And they also outperform the average player because they have these refined fundamentals. They can CS better, they can dodge, they can predict, they can rotate, they know which turn to take, and they know how to play their champions, right? And then obviously they make less mistakes because they don't put themselves in those risky situations, right? They just go for those safer plays. Whereas compare them to a bronze player, the fundamentals aren't up to par, right? They don't know how to CS, they don't know how to harass, they don't know how to push lane, push turn, rotate, and all of these other things, that position, and use their champions even. Like they play champions first time in rank. Like you don't do that unless you like play that champion a lot in normal games, right? And not because someone else played it, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can actually play that champion. So that's another mistake they make. And obviously there's a multitude of mistakes and errors that they do make in their overall decisions, but they can just improve that over time, because the more you play, the more knowledge you retain, and intuition becomes a little bit better, right? So what to do better? Focus on yourself, right? A lot of these times, like people are looking at what your teams actually, no, that's a different slide, right? So focus on your individual self, focus on what you can do rather than what your opponent can do, right? So focus on yourself, focus on what you're doing, right? And it's active focus, it's not like you're on autopilot, right? And perform better than the average player, and you will climb with ease. So basically what I mean is just refine your fundamentals, learn to farm better, right? So if you're just, for example, let's say put in a CS marker, 10 minutes you need to have 70 CS, 10 minutes you need to have, like, say 100 CS, actually, that's true. So 10 minutes, 100 CS, so remember this, 10 minutes, 100 CS, 20 minutes, 200 CS, 30 minutes, 300 CS, right? This is a percentage wise, so normally you'd want like 360 by 30 minutes, but these are good numbers to work with. So just times 10 the number of minutes you are in game for, and that's how much CS you should be at. So 10 minutes is 100, 20 minutes 200, and 30 minutes 300. Now this isn't like fantasy, this is actually possible, and you're actually missing several waves by hitting these numbers still. So you have a leeway for to miss a couple of minions, right, and like the waves, and you'd still be able to hit these numbers. So the first 10-minute one, I think it's only like 1 minion per wave. The other one is like you can miss the 20-minute mark is like you can miss like a wave or two. 30-minute mark is like when you can miss like 5 or 6 waves and you still be able to make it. Right, so remember, these are real-time possibilities, and if you just do that for 3 weeks straight, you'll be able to farm better than the average player, and overall find yourself like climbing. Right, it won't be that you are doing anything special. You're just performing better than the average player at CSing, and you'll find yourself climbing in no time. Right, you have all this gold to buy all these cool items. That's one of the things I used to do. I used to play Ziggs, and all I used to do is ult as soon as my ult was up, and then use my combination skills to just last hit. And who knew, like by the end of 30 minutes I'd always have 300 CS, close to 350, because all I did was I'd kill my lane, and as soon as there was a minion build up in another wave, I'd just ult it and I'll get the entire minion wave. Right, so I was getting so much CS from just playing Ziggs, and my score would be 0-0-0, but by 30 minutes I would be full build. Right, and then everyone else is like what, on their 4th item, potentially, roughly around about there, I think 4th item. Right, and then I'm with here 6 item Ziggs, no kills, but I hit like a truck and I'm like level 18. Right, so I'm fairly far ahead, and yeah, so that's one thing to get, like that's a pretty key example, and hopefully that helps a little. Right, so moving on to the next slide, we actually have the overall focus of these games. Now challenger players, they get objectives, they get nexus, their focus is to not fall behind, and then they want to be relevant, they want to stay alive, focus on your plays and how it could be better. Right, whereas a bronze player, they want to win, they want to kill, they want objectives, and they're concerned with what their teammates' performance is rather than their very own. Now a challenger player, he's doing whatever he can to actually ensure that he's gonna win the game, and he's gonna have an impact on actually winning the game. But the bronze player here, he just wants stuff. Right, it's not that he's actually doing things to try and achieve it, it's more that he wants it, and because he wants it, he's filling his mind with empty thoughts like, hey, bot lane died, now I can't win, I want to win. Right, so these are just empty thoughts. Like, these are thoughts that you should not really be having in a game, because all your thoughts are is, hey, how can I win this game? What do I need to do to win this game? Right, and what should I be doing as a player to help everyone else to ensure that this game is a victory, right, rather than wanting to actually win the game. So what to do better is focus solely on yourself and your plays. Now this is where I think my other comment, other thing I stated before was relating to, so focus solely on yourself and your play. No one, like, remember your teammates, remember what Doublelift said, your teammates are always going to be retards. They are the control group. Riot's giving you a control group. They're saying, hey look, we're going to give you a bad team. That's the only thing that's going to be a constant in your games. Right, what you do with that bad team is up to you. So whether you carry in that bad team and you carry that bad team to victory, or whether you're gonna behave like a person, like an ungrateful, what do you call it, like a spoiled brat, where you want everyone to help you and everyone to carry you, right? So yeah, it's basically up to you what you want to do with that, right? And it's totally what you can do as a player that will ensure that you win the game. If you're not doing anything as a player to impact that game, then chances are you're not going to win. Like, people say, I need to play a carry role to impact the game. No, you do not. Carry just kills people and kills objectives, right? A tank can also kill a turn. A support player can also kill a turn. So everyone can kill a turn. Everyone can kill a dragon with the aid of others. Everyone can kill Baron with the aid of others, right? So yeah, just remember, everyone can hit the damn turn, right? And everyone can hit the inhibitor, and everyone can hit the nexus, so it will die. So ensure that you're focusing on what you can do to impact the game that you are playing, And don't worry about what everyone else is doing, because everyone else is bad. You yourself are a good player, so focus on what you can do to become better, right? And then eventually go and play with the good players, right? One would hope so. Cool. Anyway, I think this may be the last slide. I'm not too sure. Let's find out. Ooh, I think I jumped a slide. Let's go. Motivation and effort. Right. Okay. So motivation and effort. So there's 2 slides left. So challenger players, they will play till the 20-minute mark before they decide whether they can hold and mid game. Now, this is because they know they first thing they probably consider is whether the team is a mid game team or a late game team or an early game team, and whether they had a lead, or whether they're playing from behind. Right. So these are things that they consider, and then obviously what is the enemy? Are they an early, mid to late game team, and can they hold against these teams? Right. So they will always be looking for ways to make a comeback if they're behind, and they understand what they need to do as a team and not to lose. So a lot of the time when they're in this game, they're like, okay, I don't want to lose this game, because they definitely are playing to win, so they do whatever it takes to actually win the game. And they know, hey look, if we're behind, we need to play from behind, play super safe, just farm it out, avoid any fights, avoid risky situations, ward as much as we can to spot the enemy team out, so we can avoid being caught and then getting any more things out of it. So they understand that concept, and they understand that they need to sort of defend this turn, settle it out, right? Whereas the bronze player, they tend to give up early in before early game exits, pre 20 minutes, right? So basically before 20 minutes they're like, GG, FF 20, right? First of all, I say to these players, are you a medium or a, I don't know, can you see the future, right? Because what you're initially doing is making a statement and then trying to make that statement true by not putting in the effort. You're saying, GG, FF20, we can't win. And what you do after that is you're not putting in effort to actually win, therefore the statement you made holds true, so you're not, by doing that, you're also kind of giving yourself false information, because now you're saying, every time you say GG, not gonna win, chances are you're not winning, so therefore you must be correct, which is kind of not so true, right? So ensure that you've played your hardest till the 20-minute mark, because what the game has done is given you an indication that says, here is the end of the early game, right? Do you think you've got the tools to hold out in mid game and late game against this team? And at the 20-minute mark, they ask you, they give you the option to, hey, do you want to surrender, or do you want to continue playing? And it's only then that you think that, hey, look, we've got an early game team, they've got a late game team, they're only just they're ahead of us, right? They're far ahead of us, and because it's like, what, 20 kills to 1, and you can't really make a comeback from there, because they'll only get stronger from here, right? And then that's a situation that you would surrender. But say if you're playing a mid-game comp against a late-game comp, you've got the entire 10 minutes from that 20-minute mark. So you've got 30 minutes of gameplay in that game, right, to ensure that you can win, right? And once it has the 30-minute mark, then obviously that's when the other team outscales you, and your defeat is like almost guaranteed. But you've got 10 more minutes, and most people, they're like, okay, we've got a mid-game comp, they've got a late-game comp, FF20. I look at them and I say, how? Did you not consider all of this? And most times what they do is try to copy a challenger player in regards to decisions. So they basically look at pro streamers, or they look at high-level challenger players, and they say, okay, given the circumstance, you would do this. So that's one of the reasons why the FF20 GG at 20 came about, right? Because all these challenger players are doing. No, this is not correct. But because challenger players can think at a higher level that you can, they see something that you don't, right? They understand the team comps and whatever. What you need to consider as a challenger when they say GG FF20, it's only because there is only a 5% chance they're actually going to win that game, right? You need to consider this. So, and if you move lower, so this is top 50 challenge, right? This is not like lower challenge. Lower challenge, you add an extra 5% to it, because there's a 10% chance that they can actually make a comeback, but they're not prepared to play for this because there's like 90% against them, right? And then as you move lower to master, it becomes 15%. Now there's a 85% chance that can make a comeback, but the odds are still against them, right? And as you move down to diamond, it becomes 20. There's a 20% chance to come back. If you move to platinum, there's a 25. Move to gold, what do you call it? 30. Move to silver, 35. Move to bronze, 40. Right, so it's a 60-40 and bronze, right? So that's still pretty good odds, right? 60 to 40, 60% chance you're gonna lose, but there's a 40% chance you're actually gonna win. And if each one of your players puts in an extra like 105%, I know 105% is not a real effort, but if you put in that much effort, like if you're going beyond your limits to play that game and actually make a comeback, right? And each individual player is doing it, and say if each individual player is putting in at least a 5% extra input than they would, like effort that they would normally have if they were at capacity. So they're playing out of their minds right now. So 5 times 5 is 25. You add 25 to 40, it becomes a 65% effort and a possibility that you're gonna win. So that means there's only a 35% chance that you're gonna lose this game. So why not put in the effort and actually win rather than complain? It says GGFF at 20, right? So you guys need to understand that, right? If you're in bronze, there's a higher chance for a comeback than it is in a challenger level game because there's odds considered. And solo queue, everyone makes mistakes, right? Pro play, there's like 1% chance of comebacks, and yeah, so that's a different level anyway. Unsure. Next up is a try and copy. Oh, whoops, sorry. Unsure of what is needed to be done playing from behind. So next up is like turtling. They don't know how to turtle. They tend to what do you call it? They tend to like run up to lanes and like they'll just farm, knowing that the enemy team is probably coming for them. That's another thing that you got the players in bronze do that kind of ticks me off a little, because they know that the enemy team is coming for them and they know they need to be a turn to defend it, but they're not actually putting in the effort to actually defend that turn. All they're doing is trying to get caught so the game would end sooner, and it kind of ticks me off a little bit, but what can I do about it? Anyway, ways to improve is actually put in effort till your Nexus falls. So fight till the very end. The game's not over until your Nexus falls, right? And there's always this possibility for you to make a comeback, as whether or not you're putting in the actual effort. Sorry, that took a little bit longer than I should have. Going to the next slide. So hard work. So this one's challenger players. They like to do isolation practice, right? So practices. So basically, what that means is they're going to focus on one factor. So today it will be CSing, and they will CS till they can fix the CS, and then they'll work on their positioning. They'll work on their positioning until their positioning is super fixed, and then they'll work on their rotations until it's super fixed. Now, it took them a long time to do all of this. So remember, it takes ages and ages to actually do this, and yeah. So make sure that you know that nothing becomes of it like overnight, right? They also do a lot of theorizing, experimenting ways to win until they found a method that guaranteed number one. So they either did the split push method, or they just siege turn method, team fight method. So they were all trying, like all these players that have made it to challenger, at one point in time they were not challenger and they were looking for ways to actually win more games. So you as a player need to be looking for ways to win these games, right? They did not become challenger overnight. They earned it, right? So they put in their effort, they put in their hard work, and they were able to become challenger players, right? And then what bronze players do is they expect to be carried. Now, if you're going into a game expecting to be carried, you're expecting to lose the game, right? That's 100% static. And there is no actual isolation practice, so you're not actually looking to practice something when you go into these games. Even though it is a ranked game, you're always looking to practice something, right? And the very first thing that you should be looking to do is practice your CSing, because it's fairly crucial. Unless you're playing a supportive role, then you should either look to gank or what do you call it? Look to ward out and make those plays happen, right? So that's as a support or a jungle player. ways to improve: make sure every game you're playing you are putting 100% effort into it till the very end. So it takes hard work, right? It's not gonna take half-assed work ethic to actually generate results, right? You're gonna have to put in a lot of hard work. So and you're gonna have to do it through a consistent. You're gonna have to do it consistently throughout a certain time period, right? And throughout every game that you do play. And if you can't do that, then generally, basically, you deserve to lose, right? So if you're not putting in 100% effort, you genuinely deserve to lose that game, right? So hopefully, I think I have highlighted most of the things. Sorry guys if I got like a little bit distracted, because I think I spent a lot more time talking on that GGFF20 thing, and this video should have been a lot more shorter. But anyway guys, if you enjoyed the content, make sure to like it, and if you disliked it, make sure to check a dislike. Please feel free to leave a comment, and also if you've got ideas for another video, feel free to leave that in the comment as well. I'll put this video, I don't know when this video is going to be up, but yeah. Anyway guys, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Anyway, Wolves out. Bye bye.